Alright, so your first step is to come to your app store and to download the Nitrado app. From there you want to go ahead and open the app, and then you'll be brought to this page here. Now from here, what you want to do is go sign in with Nitrado. Now, once we get to this next section, we'll have two options here. You can either log in with an account that you already have created, or you have to go ahead and register an account. So go ahead and get that sorted, and I'll meet you in the next step. Once you've logged into the Nitrado app, you'll be brought to the My Services tab. Now this is where all your servers are going to be listed. As you can see right now, I have an Xbox One Ark server. Now what we're going to do is actually go ahead and purchase another server. But if you're on Xbox, what you need to do is actually go to the Xbox Live store and find the Nitrado app, install it, then log into that app, and then from there you'll need to follow the steps to purchase a server. However, if you are PS4 and PC, what you want to do is when you're in the app, go ahead and hit the three lines, and then go to Order Service, Game Server, and then what we're going to do is once that loads up is we're just going to go follow the steps, see how much money we need, and then we're going to add some money to our account and then go from there. So we've chosen we want it to be in Sydney. We want to go ahead and get a PS4 server. It says we need 10 slots, so we'll up it up to 10 slots. Now, once this is all set up, we can see that we're going to need $16.64 Australian in order for me to get the server. So what you want to do now is hit the three dots again, and then you want to go to Charge Account, and then from here, you'll need to select your country, your payment method, and then you want to go put in the amount you need. So for us, it was $16.64. Charge the money to your account. Then once that's done, you want to head back to the order service, fill out the details again, and then purchase the server, and then it will appear in the My Services tab. Alright, so now that we have our server, let's go ahead and work with it. So go ahead and click the server, and the first things first, the server will be turned on. You want to go ahead and click the stop button. Now mine stopped obviously, so hence why I don't see those buttons, but go ahead, turn off the server, and then once it's stopped, continue on. Now, this is the dashboard of the server. Now this has some very cool information. So first off, it has when the server was last updated, how many players are currently on the server, the current status of the server, and when the server is set to expire. As you can see, mine is set to expire next month. Now that's covered, let's go ahead and actually start editing the server. So once this loads up, we're going to go ahead and start working with this in non-expert mode. So when you first get a server, it's non-expert mode, and I will show you expert mode as well. But for non-expert mode, this is what we've got. We've got General, Crossark, Engine Settings, and Player Control. Now we're only going to focus on General and Engine Settings at this point. So go ahead, open General. Alright, so now that we are on the General section, like I said, first make sure your server is turned off, and then you'll be able to go through here, edit the name, message of the day, and do all your other stuff. Now I'm not going to focus too heavily on the General one because when you're in non-expert mode, everything is actually quite clearly laid out and explained really well. So go through here, see what you want to add and do for your server, then make sure you save the change before you quit. So go ahead, say, I want building the mission area, save the change, and then that will load and then process the save, and then we'll be good to go. Alright, so cool, there you go. Now the setting's been saved, so when I launch my Genesis world, I'll be able to build a mission area. Now let's move on to engine settings. So we'll go ahead and hit the back key, and then from there we're going to go to engine settings. Our engine settings again is pretty self-explanatory, but this is where you'll be able to do, increasing the overall dyno weight. So for example, if we were to go here right now, I will be doing all these settings in depth in a future video, but I just thought I'd give you a quick overview. But we've got the Anki here, and we can go ahead and adjust the spawn multiplier, basically allowing us to either increase or decrease the amount of Ankis that are on the world. You can adjust the engrams, you can adjust your levels for players and dinos, your stats, so forth, so forth. Now what's important here is this custom Game.ini setting. So when you're in non-expert mode, obviously you don't have access to the game files. And because of that, you are somewhat limited with the amount of editing that you can actually do, because you can't really add custom drops or auto unlock engrams when you're in non-expert mode. Now, the only way to get around that is by using this custom ini box. The only problem though is when we add code into this box, it can only take so much code before it stops working, as well as it's really hard to edit any code that's in this box. So if you make a fatal mistake, you're in deep doo-doo. So what I recommend is if you're going to do any expert mode stuff with codes, files and all that, wait till you're in expert mode, which I'm going to show you very shortly. But anyway, that is the non-expert mode area. It's mostly pretty self-explanatory. If you do have questions, let me know. But anyway, we're going to go back and we're going to go and now do expert mode. So just before we go to expert mode, the first thing you want to do is go through your server in non-expert mode and set it up as best as you can. So get the name right, the password, the map, any other general settings you want. Get that sorted. Save the change and then start the server. And then when it's up and running, leave it for about 5 minutes, then turn it off and then go into expert mode. The reason you would do that is because then everything you did in non-expert mode will then carry over to expert mode, right? If I was to right now, just then, go ahead, make some changes, save it, and then go straight to expert mode, none of that would carry over. I would have to redo it all again. But if you go ahead, get it set up, save it, start the server, then turn it off, and then transfer, you will then keep all your stuff. So that just saves you a lot of time. But anyway, once you've done that, I want to go ahead and be in general. This is where it is. Go and click expert mode, go continue, save the change, and then that will take us into expert mode. All right, so now that we're in expert mode, there's two things to keep in mind. First off, all the settings that we had access to in non-expert mode, a good chunk of them have now been moved to expert mode, only leaving with us a handful in the general tab now. Secondly, you also need to make sure that whatever's in this now new general section is the exact same as it is set in expert mode. Because see, for example, if where it says here, hide damage from logs, right? So right now with that ticked, it's going to hide the damage logs. If we go ahead and have that unticked, then we want the damage logs to appear. But if in expert mode, we say we want them hidden, you've now told the server to do two things. You've told it to hide it and not hide it. And that's going to cause confusion and cause issues. So you want to make sure that these are the exact same. So whatever's in general, right, make sure its expert mode version is the exact same. Now that that's been addressed, let's go ahead and actually go and look at the expert mode stuff itself. So hit the back button. And now you'll see instead of engine settings, we have expert settings. So go ahead, click that, and then that will take us to the next section. Here it is, game user settings. So there are two sections to work with. The first being the Gameusersettings.ini, which is where we are now. And this basically allows us to control, the server name, the password, structure pickup time, decay timers, message of the day, and wild dino max level. So all the basic stuff of your server. Now, when you're in here, the only sections that you should be editing is where it says server settings. So everything under server settings, so server password downwards, all of this is configurable, and so is the message of the day. Anything above the server settings, I would not touch, because then it's going to cause issues in the server, and then you're just going to have a lot more problems. So when in Game User, you only touch everything under server settings and message of the day. Now, when we come to Game.ini, so this is where we'll do our more advanced level of coding, such as adding non-native dinos like the gacha to the island, custom drops, auto-unlock engrams, stacking sizes, so forth and so forth. This is where you can go ahead and, like I said, do all that. But the only line that you do not edit is line number 1, the script shooter game. You don't touch that. Everything else can be fully configured and edited, and you can add more code to it. Alright, so now let's go ahead and start actually configuring the files. So the first thing we can do is we can actually edit the files in the app itself if we really want. So for example, crop growth speed, we don't like that. Let's go ahead and make that 50. Then we'll go save the change, and then that will save and load into the new file. So that's one way you can do it. Or what I alternatively like to do is go ahead and select everything and copy, and then move over here to the internet and either use this website here, the first one, the edit pad website. So you go ahead here and quickly delete all this, add the code, and there you go, that is everything there. So we'll just go ahead and edit whatever we want, add whatever code we want, and then you would just go ahead, select all, and then copy and paste that. So like just replace what you had in the app with all the new updated stuff. You can also save the file as well to your phone as well, or alternatively use this just notepad, which I alternatively much prefer. It's a little bit smaller, but the advantage of this is you can actually save it online so you don't lose it, just in case something happens. Now, the reason I would say use these two notepads online is because I find the Nitrado app very clunky to use sometimes. Like, try and add something, or you edit a piece of code and then something will happen or just bug out, and that's really annoying. Whereas on these apps, you can go ahead and change it to whatever you want it to be and then sort that out and then just copy, and then you'll be all good to go. As well as like when you're doing other key additions of files, such as, you know, adding non-native dinos, those codes actually require quite a lot of work on them. And if the Nitrado app is being buggy, then it's going to make your life harder than it has to be. So if you can just go ahead and edit it in an actual proper text file and then get it right and then put it over, it makes your life so much easier. Now that you've seen this, let's go ahead and look at more of the codes in depth. So first thing is this website here, which is the Ark Wiki server configuration. This is the Bible to setting up your own server. This is the absolute Bible. It has here every single code that we can use. It also tells you what each code does, and it also has all the codes that go in each section. So under the game user, here's all the codes that we can use in the game user section. It is the absolute Bible. So come here and use this. But what I like to do when I'm actually using the wiki is I like to go into the desktop mode, because then I can see things a lot more clearly. So, you know, I'll go scroll in. It's like, all right, cool. So auto destroy decay dinos. I can see the full code and then I can read it. Whereas I feel in the just mobile view, it's a bit clunky, but you can do whatever you want. All right, now it's important to know that some of the codes that are on the wiki are actually in their template form. So take, for example, here, b auto unlock engrams equals, and it's got brackets values. So that code is not complete. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to copy this code, and then you would need to head over to one of the ini sites that I showed. So we'll just go to this just notepad, quickly paste the code here, or you can do it in the app, whatever you want. Delete all this and then go ahead and make that true. And there you go, now the file is complete. But if you go ahead and look into the wiki, it's going to tell you how to make the file correct. It will give you the template and then it'll just say, this is what you need to do to make it X, Y, Z. So definitely check out the wiki for everything before you do anything server config wise. Now that we've done that, let me give you a few additional resources to help with your server configuration. So we'll quickly close these. And we're going to head over to the first site, which is Nipiro. Now, this site is outdated up to Aberration. So everything after Aberration, this site does not have. However, this site is quite useful to give you the very, very beginnings of everything. So if we click the Tools tab, we can go to Crafting Costs. We can adjust the player and dino level. We can adjust if some dinos spawn or they are untamable, as well as deactivating engrams, as well as configuring our loot crates, such as our blue drops and all that. So this site is very good to give you the very core basics to start you off. All right, so what I'm going to do now is actually teach you how to craft the code and then copy it from this Nipiro site and then put it in your server so it works like a charm. When you're here, what we're going to do is we're going to actually edit crafting cost, so then that will work. So we'll go cementing paste here. So basically Nipiro is quite straightforward. Like when you go make your drops, it'll tell you exactly what you need to do. The only hard part is then getting the code and getting it to work properly. So what we'll go now is we're going to quickly go get chitin and we're going to remove that. All right, done. And then we're going to just remove that. So there you go. Right now, to make cementing paste will only cost us 8 stone. Go ahead and save. And then in that little white box that we just briefly saw is where our code's going to be. So this will generate the code. We'll copy the code and then we'll put it in our Nitrado app. All right, so here we are. Everything's perfect. Just click that once and then we'll come up with this. Go copy. And we're going to open up Nitrado. Now, if we are coding with the Nitrado app and not using the notepad like I recommended, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to make some room, because if you go ahead to the bottom here and try and put it in, say, line 58, this happens. And now we can't just, hold our finger down and paste. So what you need to do is, if you're on the app, you need to go ahead and make some room up top. Then you need to go and paste the code in like so. And then scroll all the way back and quickly delete this little section here that was left over. And we're going to go quickly fix up this bracket too. And there you go. So now we have a code to make the chitin cheap as chips. So we'll go ahead now and save the change. And there you go. That crafting cost has now just been made. All right, so this is the next website we're going to be using from Trinity Mackenzie's. Forgive me if I got that wrong. But this is their site. And what you want to do is you want to click on the dedicated servers and then customization tools, and this is what we have to work with: custom levels, custom harvest, character and dino stats, taming config tool, and dino spawn, engram coding, and per level stats tool. Now remember, this site is outdated as well, unfortunately, so there's only going to be so much we can edit. So we'll go ahead and play with the player and level stats, because that is the one thing that I can guarantee is not out of date. So here we are, we're on the same page now, so just going to keep scrolling down. It explains everything. I've also got a video on this as well to help you understand, but we're just going to head and quickly craft one right now. So we'll just make this 10, But there, go ahead and watch the video and read that information if you want to make it easier. But now we've made a few changes. We're going to scroll all the way down until we get to here we go. I'm not a robot. Well, there you go. No, now it's done. Now we go to generate the code. And now that's done. And there it is. Now it's spawned in. So this goes in our Game.ini. As you can see, it's made code for our dinos and our players. But we're just going to go ahead and copy this entire section. Copy. And then we're going to head over here. And we're going to make some room like we just did with the crafting code. So we can actually post it in. Again, I do recommend using the Notepad app to make things better, but do what you want to do. Okay, so the code's in there. Now what we need to do is remove the file path, which is that script shooter game, because right now we have two. We have the main one, which is number 1, which is where it should always be, and then we've got this one from that app. If you have multiple file paths, it's going to cause corruption, and you're absolutely in trouble. But there you go. We have now just added those changes. Oh, going to quickly fix that error too, because now 68 is wrong too. All right, there you go. All sorted. Scroll all the way down, save change, and there you go. So those two sites will definitely help you if you're on mobile to start generating some code. Like I said, they're outdated, so they're not perfect, but they're a great way to start your resourcing. Now, if you want to get some more up-to-date latest in codes, I can offer you two things. The first one being is I have a Pastebin. Whoop, that's not what I want. Pastebin, here it is. This is my Pastebin. I am slowly adding new codes over time. So you can simply come here, copy and paste all the codes that I've got here, and then implement it into your server. As well, I've got video guides as well on YouTube explaining how to do various things. And on the screen right now is a Facebook group, which is absolutely amazing. I recommend you joining them if you can. They are very helpful people. They also have a lot of codes as well that are completely free. So definitely that's going to help you a lot with your server configuration on mobile. And trust me, with mobile, you want to make your life easy as possible because it's a lot harder to make a server on mobile than it is on computer. And, you know, congrats on actually going through with a mobile, to be honest. Alright, so just before we end the video, there's a couple more things that we need to cover. So first off, we're on the main dashboard. Go Tools and Settings, and you want to go to Event Logs. Now, what event logs are is they basically note down the core changes to the server, such as when the server was shut down, certain settings were altered, stuff like that. So this is where all the core server stuff is, and it just keeps track of that. Now, if you move on to log files, there's 3 different types of log files. The first one, which is the shooter game log, this is supposed to tell you who joins and when they join, as well as it logs all admin commands if you have that done, and the server start and stop. Now, unfortunately, mine doesn't have that data because right now Nitrado is having a bit of an issue, so it's not actually logging that data, but that's what it's supposed to do. Then the next one is the shooter game last log, which you can probably tell is the log from the previous shooter game. So basically, the shooter game log will say on Tuesday, have an entire log, right? And then when it comes to Wednesday, it's got an entirely new log. But you're like, oh, but I really wanted to see Tuesday's log, you know? So then you would go to the shooter game last log, and it would have Tuesday's log, and you're like, ah, sweet, okay, so that's what happened on Tuesday. Billy used the wrong admin command, you know what I mean? Because then you obviously can't tell if Billy used the wrong admin command on Wednesday if he didn't do it. So the shooter game last log allows you to, you know, go back one day and see what happened on that day, and then compare it with, you know, today's one. And then the final one, which is the restart log, and what this does is it simply logs all the start and stops and resets of the server. Now, with that being said, go ahead and hit the 3 lines, and the next one is game switching. So if you click that and follow that, you can then go ahead and change the server. So for example, let's say you don't want an Ark server anymore, but you want to turn to an Atlas server. That will teach you how to do that, so you can change servers. Now, what we need to do is 2 more important things, which we didn't look at earlier. So we're going to go back to the dashboard. We're going to go server settings, and what we're going to be looking at now is the Crossark and the player control. So once this loads up, here we are, go Crossark. Alright, so Crossark, aka Ark Cluster, is where you actually go ahead and allow your servers to become a cluster. So what you would do is you activate the Crossark right here, and you would generate a new ID, and then what you would do then is you would get this ID, quickly save as well first, and then you would go to your next server, say your Extinction server, and you would obviously enable Crossark, and then you would put the cluster ID that we just got from this server into Extinction, and then save it, and then now those two servers are clustered. Clustered also allows you to then prevent people from bringing in creatures from other servers and from their single player world. However, if you are just a lonely server owner, you can go ahead and enable these features here, which will then prevent people from bringing in stuff or taking stuff out of your server. Alright, now the last thing we need to look at is player control. So go here, player control. But what this lets us do is it lets us see everyone who has played on this specific server. So if anyone was online right now, I would be able to see them all listed. However, no one's online, so you click that off. And we can see currently that Ninjakiller and Rogue Ninja are not online. So we'll go ahead and click Rogue, and we can actually click that, and then he is now banned. However, Rogue is only banned on one server. He's not banned on all my other servers in my cluster. He's only banned on this one. So you would need to go to each player control on every single one of your servers. And if Rogue has been on that world, you can then ban him. If he hasn't been on that world, you can't ban him. But if you want to go ahead and unban this man, simply go ahead and just hit the X mark, and bam, he is now free to go and play on the world again. Well, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this helped you make your own server using mobile. If it doesn't, let me know in the comment section down below, and I will do my absolute best to help answer any of your questions. There will be service configuration guides, more of them coming soon, to teach you how to get everything sorted out, especially like adding gachas to the island. So keep an eye out for that. But with that being said, thank you again, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.